What I'm saying is that each sex has the right to define itself, all right? And we're in a period now where men are the targets of far too much blaming. I want to get the male bashing out of feminism. And I want women to acknowledge that men have a right to determine their own identities too. What's happened today is upper middle class career women want to redefine men, okay, into what operates smoothly in their own now quite affluent career system.
So women are too fixated on careers?
I'm saying that life is dual.
Welcome to Gender Chronicles. Today we will answer a question from one of our members. Thank you, Morgan, for sending us this important question. Okay, let's get into it. My dear brother, you ask a question that burns with the heat of an open wound, a question that in itself is an accusation, though not without merit. You ask, if women are strong and independent and don't need men, as they say, then why do they blame men for their misery? If they have agency and therefore are the masters of their destiny, how do they explain their tendency to lay the blame for failures and inner torment on the feet of men? Brother Morgan, you are not the first man to ask this question, nor will you be the last, because the battle between men and women, between freedom and blame, between self-determination and victimhood, is as old as humanity itself. In short, the answer to your question, my brother, can be summarized as the paradox of freedom or the crushing weight of freedom. But before we delve into this paradox of freedom, let us listen to Camille Paglia, a rare feminist with the courage to stare into the eyes of the storm of modern feminism. She is a unicorn among feminists, honest truth-teller. She's an Ivy League-educated scholar from Yale University. Talk about the cream of the crop.
So your book is called Free Women, Free Men, Sex, Gender, Feminism. What does that mean, free women, free men? What are you arguing for?
What I'm saying is that each sex has the right to define itself, all right? And we're in a period now where men are the targets of far too much blaming. I want to get the male bashing out of feminism. And I want women to acknowledge that men have a right to determine their own identities too. What's happened today is upper middle class career women want to redefine men, okay, into what operates smoothly in their own now quite affluent career system.
So women are too fixated on careers?
I'm saying that life is dual, okay, and that in the Anglo-American world, okay, there has been a shift toward looking at your job as a definer of your identity. Once there was the world of women and the world of men. That is not our world right now. But I'm saying, women, stop blaming men for your feeling of unhappiness. Okay, what's happened is you've lost that old era, okay, where there was elder care and infant care and cooking and doing the laundry. Everything was together. Women were together for tens of thousands of years. Right?
So you want women to go back to doing the laundry?
Absolutely not. I'm saying stop blaming men. I'm saying stop blaming men, okay, for your unhappiness.
So I'm confused because now you're saying that women have been too hard on men, but you also argue that women are too weak, that they need to be stronger and stand up for themselves, even in terms of their sexual relationships.
Exactly. That's exactly okay.
So it's kind of confusing.
What you have now is a certain style, okay, a bourgeois style, upper middle class style of self-presentation by women, okay, all right, that is compliant, that is decorous, that is feminine. It's an entire reversion to the Doris Day, all right, and Debbie Reynolds era that I revolted against. Okay, so my philosophy of street smart Amazon feminism is about putting personal responsibility onto women. Every single moment of every day, okay, you have a responsibility to project to men and to other women what you will tolerate and what you will not. Stop looking to daddy figures and mommy figures, okay, on grievance committees and so on, or the government, okay, to get you out of jams. Life is difficult, okay, you know, step up to the plate.
Now let us sit with this for a moment, not merely to indict, but to understand. For there is something in your question, Brother Morgan, that reveals a deeper truth about the way we, as human beings, move through this world. Let us start with the promise and the price of freedom. You see, my dear brother, to be free is the most terrifying thing in the world. It is to wake up every morning and know that there is no one to shield you from the weight of your own choices. You win, you take credit, you screw up, you take the blame. It's that simple. That's freedom. And yet, freedom is precisely what has been promised to women in this so-called modern age, an age that, for better or worse, claims to have broken the chains of tradition and rewritten the script of gender itself. For centuries, women were told they were bound to fathers, to husbands, to sons, to the patriarchy. And now, in the era of liberation, they have been told they are bound to no one and to nothing. No roots, no anchor, no structure, floating in space and time aimlessly with no sense of meaning, purpose, and direction. They are told they are strong, independent, and don't need no man, no protection, no provision, no permission. But here is where the contradiction arises. Freedom, real freedom, means owning not just your triumphs, but also your failures. This is exactly what Camille Paglia says in the video we just watched. It means you cannot turn around after having cast off the old order and demand that the very men, masculinity and patriarchy you have declared enemies, obsolete and unnecessary, still bear the weight of your disappointments and misery. Ladies, if you are watching, it's time you reckoned with your inner torment for the life you have chosen for yourselves. Let us consider the fact that we all live in the shadow of the past. History does not fade so easily, and neither do the habits of the heart. People who are convinced to be long oppressed will not always know what to do with their liberty when it finally arrives. And ladies, that is you. Yes, you. So while we are at it, remember the old wisdom. Not everything that glitters is gold. They said they were taking you to freedom, but they have thrown you into the eye of the storm and left you there. The old wisdom also says, be careful what you ask for because you might just get it, and you got it most abundantly. You see, Brother Morgan, here too we find an uncomfortable truth. Many women, for all their protestations of independence, still hold fast to the expectation that men as a class should carry responsibility for the state of their lives. It is a habit passed down through generations, an inheritance of dependence disguised as grievance. And yet, to be fair, to be just, we must also recognize that this is not merely a personal failing, but a cultural one. We live in an age where power and victimhood are locked in a lustful, perverse embrace. To be seen as oppressed is to wield moral authority, and to admit to full autonomy is to relinquish that authority. Do you follow me? And so even as women claim their strength, they are not eager to surrender the refuge that weakness provides, the ability to say, it is not my fault, it is the fault of men. It is the patriarchy. It is toxic masculinity. It is male privilege. It is the gender pay gap. Let us remember that we men are the eternal scapegoats. In other words, we men have always been the beasts of burden in history's morality plays. We are the architects of war and the builders of empires, the fathers who are absent and the husbands who are too present. We are the oppressors, the saviors, the destroyers, the providers. Whatever else we men may be, we are never innocent. And in a world that increasingly sees power itself as a crime, to be a man is to be guilty by default. But here is where things become truly insidious. If we the men are responsible for everything, then the women are responsible for nothing. They are here on a free ride at our expense. And if women are responsible for nothing, then they are not truly free, not truly independent, but rather prisoners of their own mythology, fantasy and delusion, trapped in a cycle of complaint and justification. Let us not forget women's cowardice and fear of self-examination. To blame another is the easiest thing in the world. The well-known Chinese proverb says, if you blame others, you have a long way to go. If you blame yourself, you are halfway there. If you stop blaming, you have arrived. Women have a long way to travel. Will they ever get halfway there, let alone arrive? To look in the mirror and say, this too is my doing, is a far harder thing. But real freedom, the kind that cannot be revoked by law or custom, requires this courage. Freedom is not for cowards. It requires the ability to say, I chose this man, I chose this life, I made this mistake, I must learn. Can women do that? And so, I say to you, brother, that the contradiction you see is not simply hypocrisy. It is fear. Fear of what it means to stand fully upright, to hold oneself accountable without the comforting shield of blame. It is a fear that belongs not just to women, but to all who struggle with the weight of their own agency. And so we return to the beginning. If a woman is truly free, she will not need to blame a man for her sorrow. If she is truly strong, she will not need him as her scapegoat. And if she cannot release him from that burden, then she is not yet as free as she claims to be. If you have found this video insightful, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And let us keep the conversation going. Thank you for watching.